I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry.
Super. Apologies, I am sick. I was gone last week in Florida visiting TJ. Just kidding. But I, of course, brought something back, and I thought I'd spare you guys at least for one day. We'll see about tomorrow. It really took its toll yesterday, but just giving you all that full story. Let's do roll call, starting from what would be my left with special guest Mark.
Oh, hey, Mark Moreno, present. Cody Baker, citizen secretary, present. Brian Ray, council president.
Carol Williams, counselor, here.
Cindy Evans, counselor, present.
Fred Cuthbertson, citizen president.
Jeannie Cuthbertson, counselor, present.
Harry Myers, counselor, present.
And Jeremy Felty, counselor, present remotely. And I believe Mayor Sheets has a conflict. Is that right?
That is correct. And
Yep.
Thomas Fiorelli, city administrator, present as well.
Thank you, TJ. Sorry. Well, TJ, I see you've put the your presentation up. Would you like to just jump right into it?
Yes, and then I also want to note, just off the camera there, we also have accounting specialist Flora with us tonight as well.
TJ, would you be able to, I can barely hear you all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
same here. I think maybe your mic is picking up somewhere else.
Give me a second here.
Oh, that's better.
There we go. Better.
Oh, can you hear me actually better now?
Yeah.
I think so.
Sorry, I just wanted to double check
Yeah.
here real quick.
Lost you
Is
again.
that better? Or?
No, worse. Worse for me. I don't know about them.
Yeah, worse.
How about now? Is that any better?
No.
No?
No
Nothing
change.
better here? No change, huh? Hold on 1 second. I'm wondering if that's any better. Can you hear me?
A little bit better, yeah.
Oh, if it's a bandwidth issue, but I don't think so.
No.
So no improvement. Is that correct?
It
goes in and out.
Now.
Must be bandwidth.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on there.
Yeah, I maxed out, so I don't know. Yell,
Give me 1
TJ.
second. Give me 1 second, you guys.
Just need closed caption. Excuse me.
I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second here. Don, do you want to start with the budget just as we have? I'm going to open up the screen and share the packet if you want to start with a few changes from last week.
Yeah, we could do that. I do have the pages numbered. Hindsight 2020, I should have put them at the bottom right, probably, but they're not there. They're at the top. So, top left is where the page numbers are. That way, when we're referencing different worksheets and stuff, we can go and see exactly what we're referencing. I did put all of our working sheets in the front, so we can go back and check any of those we need to. We did actually add in our LGIP interest disbursement on that table now as well. So we can reference that, and it also directly tied to the spreadsheet. We had corrected the sewer fund, I believe is which one it was, that didn't have the total let me look here. I think it was total transfers. It wasn't proper. Let me look here. Caught me off guard.
It was a sewer that had a.
Yeah. LB 30. Yep, LB 30. So page. Oh man, I punched the number off. See, that's why you don't put that there. I think it's page 60 though. Like second to last or third to last. I don't know, somewhere in there. But so on the LB 30 for sewer, it is now a total of 33,813 for the capital outlay. We didn't have that 20,600 added in there in the formula. So that has been updated. Master sheet and LD1 tie in perfectly to the spreadsheet. So all the totals are correct. Is there anything else specific you wanted me to go over, TJ?
I'm hoping you can hear me a little better now.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. So what I wanted to do was make sure we covered those big things. That was like the real primary issue from last week. Dawn, what I'll do really quickly now is see if I can pull up this presentation and begin with a couple of steps that I think we want to complete tonight. So again, since our last meeting, in addition to looking at the correction in the spreadsheet, we've completed a review of prior appropriations and expenditures. So that's from the prior biennium. We've identified some necessary transfers to reconcile accounts with existing funds. So what we know is, and what we've confirmed, is that there are no necessary interfund transfers. And the big piece is that the reviewed reserve funds and utility funds balance. Also, we've reviewed our grant fund projects and our reserve fund accounting. And at this point in time, staff is comfortable recommending the proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget. What I want to do is, the reason Mark's here with us tonight is you have in front of you, as well as in the packet, a sheet of capital items. And as a reminder, I'll go ahead and bring it up here in a minute, but I'll give you a moment to flip to that. Items in green are items that were included by the budget officer, so that Dawn and I had discussions with Mark over several team meetings and sit-downs, and determined there were certain items that we could just include easily and should include. Other items in red are those that the budget officer decision was we did not include them. What I want to do is make sure that Mark is here with you tonight to talk about the trade-offs. What does it mean if he doesn't get X versus Y? And what kind of compromise or solution could be arrived at if it's something that's really critical? This is one of the final steps before we button up the budget and send it off for a recommendation.
And just so everybody here does realize, so the page wasn't, I didn't print it in color. I would have had to print that separate, or the entire PDF separately. So it's basically anything highlighted on page 12 is what was already included in the budget. The ones that are white with just the numbers there are not included. And those are some of the items that Mark might be discussing.
Might just go ahead and be able to pull it up in my Excel version here.
Yeah,
Is this one correct?
that is correct. I included another copy though in the packet on page 12. Just
There's no changes to that from then?
All right. What we can do here is, Dawn, do you want to start going down the list?
as far as ones we're reviewing, or
Yeah, so we're actually reviewing all of these, and what I want to do is make sure, in particular, we focus in on the red.
Okay.
Those are the items that, like I said, and as a review for the budget committee, close to 6-7 months ago, I asked Mark to begin compiling a list of items that he knew were going to be necessary for different functions, whether it was water, sewer, streets, public works in general. So this list is that resulting output. You can see there are several items in here in red. What I want to do is maybe begin with committee questions. Are there any questions that folks have about any of the items that weren't included?
items that weren't included, but I do have some that are in here highlighted in red.
So the red ones are the ones that were not included.
Okay. Yeah, that like the aerators, that's number one. For, how much is that? 50?
150, and I still haven't gotten an exact number on what that costs. It's kind of just rough estimates on that.
Okay.
And these aerators aren't 100% necessary right now. It's kind of just a wish for the future.
Okay.
It'll help minimize the smell and things like that for the small facility. But I've talked to the OEW guys about this numerous times, and they talked about the benefits of it. So I'm trying to work with them to get more of a general idea of what the actual cost is.
Okay.
It's kind of a bigger project, we get power out there, and then anchor into that. So it's not necessarily a project that needs to happen right now, and I think that's why TJ and Dawn decided that it's in red.
Okay.
Do they reduce the consumables we have to use on the phones?
No, not necessarily, it could,
Or it helps with throughput?
but if you look a little further down, I requested, and I've said it before, council before, the probiotic 2 scrubbers. That's another consumable, and I've got a guy working on a quote for the entire fiscal year. He's got me at 60 gallons, 90 gallons should take care of the whole year, and it's less than what I indicated on here. So that will help with sludge, but it is another consumable.
Yeah, sometimes. How about the automatic gates, water plant and wastewater?
Yeah, everything out of the bugs, and the bugs eat the fresh junk.
So what's the benefit, like, of getting the aerator? I mean, besides just some niceties to have it, but.
So smell, it helps the aquatic life, so the microorganisms, things like that, it helps them thrive and help the treatment process in total. So it's gonna help keep those organics, all the.
I understand that, but what would the cost be if we didn't do it in the next, say, 3 to 5 years? I mean, what would it be to the impact of our water quality?
Right now. Yeah. It's just gonna help improve the quality. It's not putting them in, it's gonna make anything
One
worse.
of the things we gotta keep in mind is it affects our effluent, and the better that we can treat our water going into the effluent.
Yeah.
We don't know if federal government's gonna change the rules, and if we don't have it, we could be stuck paying $1 million for areas, because of all the fees and funds. So most of the places I know, the bigger places, have aerators on their water treatment plants.
Yeah, and then I've talked to some of the guys at OEW, and there's newer, smaller, more compact processes and systems for aeration, and like I said, it's still in the works. I'm still talking with them, trying to figure out what's gonna be the best route to go. Ours. So the fact that it's not going into this budget cycle is not a big deal.
It's something for the planning commission.
As far as the gates and the cameras, my big question for me is, originally, when I heard about this, it was from Chuck, and it was something to do with compliance. And so, to me, that's a real concern as we're moving forward, as we know we're already on a few lists and we're being watched. How serious is this as a compliance issue, and it is pushing it down the road going to get us back in hot water? Is it going to look like we're not trying to comply? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Or are there other things we can do that are less expensive? What would bring us, without wasting money, throwing good money after bad that we just have to replace because we're not compliant? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to get something cheap that they're going to go, well, that was a nice effort, but that's not okay, right?
Right.
What does that look like? Does that make sense?
So as far as I know, there hasn't been any kind of compliance issues or anything with our gates. I'm sure you remember when Steve was here, we left the water plant gate open all day.
Right.
Whether people were outside or not. Since he's left, we made an effort, we closed that gate.
Right.
If nobody's on site, that gate is closed. So as far as I know right now, that is sufficient if you're okay with that. I can look into that further. I can talk with Chuck Moore and ask him if there's compliance issues with that, but as far as I know, off the top of my head right now, as long as those gates are closed, it's not easily accessible to the public, you should be able to.
I just didn't know, because I know he was saying something about threats and compliance. And
Yeah,
I just
security.
want to make sure that we're not ignoring something that needs to
No,
be addressed.
there's no orders or anything for us to do this right.
Okay.
I have a question. Instead of just checking on Chuck, is there someone at the state level that we should be checking?
I can check with our counterparts at OAW. They're a great help. You guys have probably heard a lot about them. We have a contract with them, we pay an annual due, stuff like that, so they help me with all kinds of stuff. Any questions I have, I reach out to them. So I can ask them if there are any compliance issues or if it's something that is absolutely necessary. Moving forward.
I think that might be better because there may be a new regulation or something that started and the Chuck may not be aware of.
It's possible. Yeah. I can definitely check on that.
In my industry, we do the same thing. We have to have, it's a defense mechanism, right? To protect yourself and to protect your community as well. You don't want them to access these chemicals, right?
Right.
Or to fall into these ponds. But in my industry, we don't dictate how that's controlled. Like, we wouldn't say you have to have electronic gate access. We would say it needs to be controlled, how you want to control it, and you can show and demonstrate that it's being controlled. It's absolutely fine.
You grab a pen, sir.
Well, the gate only goes into the plant, right? We don't have the ponds fenced up.
The ponds are fenced up,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, all the way around, yep.
And when you're talking about the gate, you're talking about the upper ponds, right? Like, when you're,
So yeah, we're in the wastewater facility, so we've been talking about putting it on that gate there. And then there's, going out to the ponds, we got a little wire gate that we put up and down that's needed. But basically, that's just to keep calls and stuff when we're not supposed to. But then, yes, there's a set of gates to go out to the ponds. And those were also looked at for getting off the end.
Well, I thought it was the water plant.
It's both.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And since we were looking at setting up a homeless camping area, that would be really good for security.
I've been out at the wastewater facility, out working, doing my thing, and people come walking up to me with dogs. What are you doing out there? There's signs that say no public entry, but they still do it. They'll still come out there. People drive out there. When we're out there working, we'll have to. People disobey signs. They just come on. Oh, when this goes out here, I didn't know I couldn't come out here. There's a sign right there. This is raw sewage. Here's your sign.
yeah, right.
I'm sorry, Carrie, what did you say?
At one time, we were looking at, we were trying to find a place to direct, I should say transient homeless, for temporary, places for them to stay. And part of it was, there's a little road between the river and the, essentially ponds. And we were talking about lighting camp there.
And the state is requiring us to designate certain areas
Yeah.
for homeless and to define what hours they could be there. So we have to define it.
Yeah.
We designated the park.
Yeah.
But we had certain hours.
And it's certain parts of the park because
Right.
Steve determined at the time that they couldn't be within 1,000 feet of a school, so he went and did all that.
And seasons with flood zone.
Yeah, and there were certain, in the flood zone, so there were certain areas of the park that talked about being open to overnight stays.
And then here you mentioned that the security camera, you were talking about the reds.
Yeah.
I don't know where that number came from. It seems we could do a lot better than.
That was a quote from Pacific Office Automation. That's just a system, and we also have license fees for them when they install. That would be a one-time fee to install it, plus license fees that occur every month.
Do they do the monitoring then?
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
So,
understanding, right?
They
No?
can do the monitoring.
yeah, so quick update on that. This would be the phasing in of additional structures within the city to pair with what we have now at the MCC. And so it would be up to council to decide when and how to bring online the park or city hall over time. I think the important thing is that at City Hall we have some form of cameras. We know that they still record, and so they're functioning. And in terms of the water treatment plant and the park, that's a similar issue. I checked with Chuck on that as well as the gate. And there is no compliance issue that has been pointed out to me or that anybody has raised. I think it would be a nice to have. I think it would be a great to have. But also we have to make sure we're providing our essential services and keeping enough reserves to keep those services afloat. So this year, I think we decided our recommendation was not to fund either one of those. However, it is the committee and or the council's discretion. If you choose to include something back in, just know that it comes out of somewhere else.
And the service or the recording system we have at City Hall, is that all manual based, or are we paying somebody to monitor that?
It's all manual. Mark, what do you
Okay.
got?
It's a Costco system, it's just an in-house, you know, I think it's got 3 or 4 terabyte of storage, and it's just monitored in-house.
Right. So if we were to know something were to happen, it's not going to tell us. You got to scroll through.
No, it's something that was purchased probably about 15 or so.
Okay, yeah.
At
least-
hey,
At least it's not on like VHS, right?
no.
Not quite that. Not quite that.
It's similar to the system that used to be in here, and then there's also one in the water plant as well. We have access to it from phones, so I can log into it. I think you have access on your phone, TJ. I don't know if you got access to them on your phone yet
You
or
have it
not.
set up for alerts.
I can set it up for alerts for certain things. But
Thing is, every time there's motion.
Yeah.
It will go off.
I have one of them. I think it was the water plant set to motion, and there's got to be ghosts or something in there because it was going off all night every night.
Well, the new ones I bought has a setting for animal, human, and set up for.
Everything.
Yeah.
What?
But they're just over-the-counter store-bought systems.
So if we look at the camera system, where exactly over at the park would we set that up at?
So they're talking about doing basically one camera on each side of the water plant. That would basically give us a 360-degree view. So one would be on the northeast corner, and one would be on the southwest corner. And that would give us a whole 360-degree view of around the water plant. The park area, all the people coming and going, parking over there, stuff like that. They have license plate recognition, so if somebody parked there, committed a crime, we have their license plate. There would be one fisheye dome in the center of the inside of the water plant. It would monitor the entire inside of the water plant. The next one would be a bullet camera on the front corner of the restroom facility that would catch all traffic coming in and out of the park, whether they're coming in going towards the wastewater plant or coming in and going down towards the dam. And we would catch their license plate, make, model, all that stuff. And then there would be 2 more that monitor the entrance to each restroom. So if somebody goes in there, destroys the restroom, we have footage, we have captured that person's, these cameras have facial recognition. So we can go in there and say, I'm looking for a guy that's wearing a shirt that said 1776 on it, and it would eliminate everybody else except that person. So yeah, we'd be monitoring the restrooms and comings and goings of the park. So if the law enforcement came by and said, hey, we had a high-speed chaser here the other day, the person pulled into the park, we got out of there before such and such, they give us the make and model of the car, we type in make and model of the car, say, hey, here's the license plate. So
So are they like clock cameras?
I don't know if law enforcement.
No, that's a particular brand.
It's a particular brand.
These are for CADA.
But it does very similar.
Yeah, you can get it from Railing too.
For the
Railing
cameras,
has a volume.
about the restrooms, catching them going in, do they have a strobe light or a blinking light that catches people's attention? Do you look at the camera?
I don't think these ones do, no. But we're also discussing one up underneath where the picture table is. Right on top. To watch that picture table.
Are these infrared?
Yes, I believe they are infrared.
I think the cameras could be used as like a form of compliance to say, look, we're monitoring, we're showing that we're monitoring, we're doing this for security purposes. And also it would, I frequent the park often walk my dogs, and it's not the safest place in our community.
Not always, no.
And it is a real concern for me as a citizen when I'm there, and I've had other family members who have raised concerns as well. In fact, there's been a time that we've had to call the police and did not get a response from them.
There's a lot of shady stuff that does go down in the park.
Yeah.
I've seen quite a bit of stuff over there. The later in the day, the worse it gets, obviously. For the most part, normal Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It's usually pretty safe. I've talked to most of the regulars over there. It's usually pretty safe, but you start getting down towards the dam, people that go down there and fish, they're always not just fishing. There's other activities that go down there.
Yeah.
I've sent law enforcement down back there many times. I've seen what I suspect to be unfaithful spouses just sitting in broad daylight over at the park.
That was the worst of it, I wouldn't mind.
But no, yes, there's a lot of.
Yeah, there's
darker
there's
things over there.
various things going on.
Ron calls me all the time,
Yeah.
with some shady happenings.
Yeah, and so you could recognize license plates when them
License
coming, no
plates,
matter which
yeah.
direction that they're going. If you did have an altercation or something with them, you could recognize their vehicle, you'd be able to.
These cameras they will have license plate recognition, it'll store that data, and like I said, we could go in and we could say, I'm looking for a black Nissan Sentra
Just
2013 era, and it would limit all the footage it shows us to similar cars to that.
And we would be the ones responsible for monitoring that.
Yeah, so right now, TJ and I both we have access to the cameras in here. We can add extra people with certain permissions.
I had access and I just didn't get it activated in time. It
Well,
wasn't a priority, I'm sorry.
And also, we have provided access to our public safety folks, so they can actually look at that from their own dashboard as well. And Verkada makes it available to law enforcement in general. Similar to some of the other companies, it is an AI-based tool. And so what's nice about it is if you're trying to track an individual across multiple jurisdictions, because they don't conveniently stay within a certain city limit, right? So the police can use those resources. And so we're filling in part of a network there too, I think.
What, Mark, would any additional infrastructure as far as power or Wi-Fi or any of that need to be put in to anywhere to accommodate this?
I would need to trench in a new cable over to the restroom facility. There's a couple different routes they can go. One of them costs us extra money. It's like a cellular service that they can provide to send a signal from the water plant area to the restrooms. There's another point-to-point system that they have that will send a signal directly. There's two different wireless options they can do, but both of those I think cost us an extra monthly fee. Or I could go and trench from the storage shed that we have over there that already has internet capabilities to the wastewater or to the restroom storage shed and tie into another line and run a new fiber cable.
Yeah, these are
Or a
just
Cat 5.
POEs, aren't they?
Yeah. So there's a couple different options. So yes, it could require digging into new infrastructure, which it wouldn't be a lot. It would probably be like a 6-inch trench with a 1/2-inch to 3/4-inch PVC line to run a low Cat 5 cable.
It is something that interests me as a citizen, but it also raises concerns, right, for your privacy and everything. And if we did something like this, would we have to notify? I mean, I would be in favor of notifying the community, saying, hey, I mean, there is no expectation of privacy if you're at the park, right?
There will be signs put up
Okay.
to, cameras and,
Security
security in fact, or cameras on site.
Video
We should probably put some up.
everywhere.
Yeah, we should probably put some up on this facility too, since we upgraded the cameras. But yeah, we would make it known that they're all cameras.
I mean, I'm in favor of including this in this year's budget. I think maybe we could look at, using different funds because it is being used for different purposes. But that's
yeah.
a recommendation.
I'd say my thought process on it is, more focused on the water facility and the park versus City Hall. But I agree with Councilor Williams. I'm pretty supportive of making this happen for at least one of these areas.
I will say that we can break these up too. So right now we have the water treatment plant and the park, it's bundled into one. So we can get rid of the park part. You don't necessarily need to put them on the restrooms right now. We can talk to them, get a different quote for just the 360 around the water line. So it's adjustable, it doesn't have to be the whole shebang right now. Like I said, when we started with the community center, we kind of figured this was gonna be a phased process. So if we can break this up a little bit, we can talk to them and say, hey, let's look at this without this and this without that.
Yeah, I'd like to see it phased because I think we need it, but it would be nice to be able to break it up a little more so it's not such a big thing to swallow when we have other things that we're trying to focus on as well.
Yeah, and then if we stick with this company, they offer all kinds of other stuff too. So they could do the gate automation. They could put keypads on the doors here. They put keypads on the water treatment plant, and each person who has access to that building will have their own code, and they'll log when they were there, how long they were there, all that kind of stuff. So this is all stuff we can start looking later on down the line when we get a little bigger, have a little more money.
And it's nice to have it all with one, somebody that can do all of it because you're more likely to just be able to phase in little parts of it and stuff and not have to completely start, because if you have to go to different companies, you're completely starting over. They're gonna want all new stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be an ongoing thing. So.
One thing I thought was neat is they can put a system on the gate to the toddler park. Toddler park has hours, but at a certain time, that gate will close and lock. And then at a certain time in the morning, it'll unlock, and whoever goes in first opens the gate. So there's all kinds of stuff this company can do. I'm just kidding. I think you can open from
You
the
have a cell
inside.
phone?
Yeah.
Let me call.
That's a question I have not thought of.
As far as the security cameras at the park, sorry, I really have a hard time believing that people out in the public area, anywhere out in the public, on the street, anywhere, expect to have privacy. I'm sorry, you're out in the public.
There's cameras everywhere these days.
The issue in the park is we've had some theft there.
I'm sorry.
We've had theft in the park restrooms.
Right,
And
I
so if you're
understand.
gonna still, sorry,
Right, I just don't think you should expect to have.
The privacy would be on the inside of that.
Well, and.
Right.
Everybody's got cell phones too, so you
Right.
can't think if you're doing something, somebody could be out there just,
Yeah, no, nowadays there's no such thing as privacy.
yeah,
Somebody
this is gonna be a good video.
elevates their voice a little bit, there's a camera on.
Yeah.
So y'all, one of the,
This privacy issue has been brought up and won by people.
Yes, it has, and Flock is, I know this isn't Flock branded, but it sounds very similar, and there are people who have real issue with it.
Yeah.
TJ, did you have something you wanted to say?
oh yes, so one of the options that we have is for the council to include this during the budget process. So, and part of what I was showing, and I'll get back to the presentation a little later that kind of gives it that high level view of what we're doing tonight. We're recommending the budget to the council. The council has 2 more meetings during which they can make revisions such as capital outlays. So I want you to know that if we recommend the budget tonight without those items, there is still plenty of opportunity. And I expected this to be one of the items that would probably get lifted up from the exclusion red list. And I say that because I thought it might be a concern, especially at the water treatment plant. We do have contingency funding, as you all know, for these kinds of purposes. It's what we choose to spend contingency on. That is the wisdom of the council to decide. But I wanted to make sure you all knew how that could potentially play out if you choose to move forward, because tonight procedurally we want to be able to move forward to the budget stage if we're ready, in order to stick with our budget timeline.
And here's the reality with the whole camera situation. If your child gets kidnapped in the park, you're gonna love those cameras.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If
Absolutely.
you get caught cheating on a spouse in the park, you're not gonna love those cameras. Okay, so it's gonna be a matter of how they served you, and you're never gonna make everybody happy. So that's. the
Well, it's not
bottom
going to
line.
report somebody cheating on their spouse anyway, so, I mean, it's, for
Yeah,
us,
but
it's a
I'm
safety
just
thing,
saying.
but yeah,
No.
yeah, so you can't please everybody no matter what you do.
Yeah,
Maybe use the subpoenas to provide the evidence to divorce the lawyer.
Anyway,
We should be somewhere no one else can see.
Mark,
So,
do you want
yeah,
to touch
I
base
mean-
on the other 2 items or 3 items that there are on there? The toolbox and then paint line striping machine.
Yeah, so the toolbox, it's a gear wrench, which they're pretty good tools. And it's a fully set up box. I think it's 873 or in the notes, gear wrench Mega Mod 873. It's a fully loaded toolbox. Last 5 years, I've been dealing with a tiny little stand toolbox with miscellaneous whatever and a old filing cabinet that's been repurposed for a wrench storage. So I've talked to TJ, I've talked to people in the past, we need to look at starting to upgrade our tool situation. And I use these tools for everything from the trucks all the way through the water plant, you use anywhere. So just kind of looking to upgrade that, and that's like I said, fully set up toolbox. But I can look at other options and cheaper options, things like that. I kind of wanted to go with something that was sort of reputable instead of just going to buy a whole Harbor Freight setup. Harbor Freight's good, I use it at home, but they always break, and they do replace what they break and stuff like that. But I was looking for something that's gonna last and is organized and standalone and stuff like that. So the fact that it is in red right now doesn't hurt, we make good what we got.
It's in blue.
What's that?
It's in blue.
Oh, my list is red.
Well, yeah, the list doesn't change.
Nope.
Printed last.
This one right here, this guy right here.
But yeah, as long as the security camera covers it, I'm okay with it.
So, and this is something, like, if we wanted to just look at buying a toolbox itself, which is pretty significant, in that, and then kind of filling it in as we need over time, that's an option.
But this is the Mac Daddy one, I mean, this is the nice one.
It's not Mac
This is-
Daddy, it's nice, it's a good one.
Isn't the Mac Daddy
No.
7,500?
No, that's what I said.
I understand.
We're just stepping up for hard
No.
work, that's all.
With the budget tools,
Car, I
the
think.
cost isn't really the tools, it's the time that you have to spend to go replace it all.
Yeah,
There's that, yeah.
And so having a higher quality tool,
I agree. That's-
Are these tools that would be out and about or in a specific location and?
So they would be stored at the shop behind City Hall. That would be the storage location of them, and it would be expected that if you use a tool, it is to come back, which has not been the case in the past.
Nope.
I'm guilty of it. I go out, I work on a water meter, I'll throw the tool in my bag, and like I said, there's no legitimate storage situation right now. I don't have a toolbox. I have a tiny little tool chest, and if I don't have it, so
would you have a check-in and check-out system for that tool?
if that was required, I would definitely implement a
That
check
might
and
be
check.
nice.
Yep, absolutely.
I think it's what we're doing.
and is this one that, where like each thing has its own space?
It does, yeah, so
So
there's a nice
that you
little
would know
styrofoam.
if something
It's
was
you.
missing, and then that would also help you track it.
And absolutely.
And that's
Yep.
much better than having it in a bag and you can't find a 10 millimeter.
And I got a good guy on site now that is all about getting organized in the shop and stuff like that. I've been trying to do it for years, I just haven't had the time, and he wants to help, and he wants to get things rolling like I do, so. Again, if I get it, great, if not, it's not the end of the world. I'm still surviving. The paint line striping machine, I don't have to do a whole lot of painting on the roads. There's probably a lot of things that do and haven't been done over the years, but the one I looked at, I went a little higher on my price in these, just because I didn't know if they got approved, how soon we'd be getting them, and if there's an inflation, all that stuff. So this one, yes, I can manually, or I can operate it to paint lines on the road, stuff like that, but it also has a sprayer I can take off, I can hit curbs over in the Red Hill subdivision. I got a lot of painting that needs to be done in there. I got a painting for the hydrants, I got a painting no parking on some spots, so this was just something I was looking at to kind of help ease that a little bit. Not a necessity, paintbrushes will work.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What streets do we stripe?
Right now, none. So I've talked to my,
That was my question.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I've talked to one of my counterparts over at the county, so there are, stop sign strips. Some of our roads should have those in the county. But the county, they also, I can buy from them, and they're in here, thermoplastics. So basically, it's a
Oh.
plastic strip
Put it down.
with the, yep, I put it on the ground and I heat it up and it melts to the asphalt. So that's another option. This, like I said, it was more like I could use this to paint the rails outside the building. I could use this to paint the curbs. I could use this, to paint ADA parking spots, which I can also get thermoplastics for. So this isn't a necessity.
Could you amortize the efficiency in time, so we have some cost savings in labor? And just say maybe 5 years would cover the cost of the savings in labor?
I don't know that, to be honest. I mean, yes, it would save us a significant amount of time going to paint curbs to mark fire hydrants and no parking areas, boxes, all that
Right.
stuff. It would save a lot of time. So it would probably, not probably, but it would save money in man hours.
You just don't know what the
I just don't.
break even is. Yeah.
We've never done it like all in a year or anything, it's just been
As
piecemeal
needed,
for so many years, as white and mellow.
Too bad we couldn't organize a community storage project at this point.
But this was.
However-
The 2,000 for the demo.
It's just a thought.
Liability.
It could, yeah. I mean, the thermoplastics are nice. All the stuff that the thermoplastics will do, that can all be painted.
Right, so the 2,000 for the plastics, but essentially not wet.
It could, yep.
Also, one thing to keep in mind is
Jason. Jay's trying to say something, guys.
yeah, so we did include also funding and contingency for things like thermoplastics. So, are you all able to hear me or no?
Yeah,
We can now.
Okay. So we did include funding to be able to cover things like the thermoplastics if we decided to go that route. If we wanted to include the striping machine, obviously we would be able to look at contingency funding, but then there are a couple things on this list that might compete with one another, especially thinking about the toolboxes in particular. I think we'd be able to distribute that across funds. The one with the most amount of available resources would really be the water fund at this point in time. But that's also where we're looking at some of our other resources as well. So I wanted to make sure council knew one thing you can consider is providing maybe a smaller dollar amount, less than 5,000 potentially for the toolbox. I don't know if Mark can make that work. And if not, that's something he might have to figure out, but that would maybe relieve some of that pressure and get us below the capital threshold. Secondly, you might think about farming out the paint striping. To my knowledge, we don't have enough of that to justify getting the machine. That was my thinking at first. Unless Mark had a good reason to maybe say, no, we've got a lot of work to do, so I'll be cranking that thing up and really using it. That might be how you might want to think about this. Mark, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I actually agree with you on that. So this thing, we can get it, and yes, right off the bat, get some projects done, we use the heck out of it. But after that, it might sit for a year and a half before we even have to consider using it again. So yes, I agree with you on that. So like I said, initially get these things done. I mean, I think they should have been done by the contractor when they built over there. Should have had the curb fan and all that stuff, but it didn't happen, so now it falls on our lap, and it's something that the fire department brings up to me regularly. There's a little flat lot back there in the cul-de-sac, and there's a big open area that is not supposed to be utilized for parking. It's designated as fire turnaround. It's utilized as parking lot all the time, so get these things done. Once they're done, they're good, and we just have to keep up on them, so.
Yeah.
This isn't a necessity.
Can I ask you that fire lane, is that on 9th and Shelby?
So it's still considered 10th Street, so when you go into the loop back there.
Oh, back there.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
okay.
back there, yeah.
I hate I hate to be the guy, excuse me, at the computer, but I did look up this toolbox, Mark, and with a Father's Day sale, you can get it plus a free swivel shop stool for $6,400.
So like I said, I did go a little higher on my requested prices in these, just so we could, just in case, like I said, I didn't know how soon we'd be able to get these things, and there might be inflation, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sounds like we better get it real soon.
But yeah, I like Father's Day sales.
So next Father's Day.
Did you tell my wife that too?
No. You don't get it.
And again, it's up to the committee to decide what these trade-offs are. If you all want to, basically what you can do tonight is either recommend a budget as is or recommend a budget with revisions or with changes as stated. And so that could be what those are, if you choose to include any of the capital items.
Is there anything else you wanted to go over, Mark, or any other questions for Mark?
No, I was gonna say, if you have questions about anything else,
What's the storm, north ninth, what's that about?
can't remember their names, but the big house up on the top of commercial.
Oh.
It's been being remodeled and worked on. There's no storm system up there, so we looked at putting a, storm system down the alley that they want to tap into, and then, my wife, Brian, he wants to tap into it. There's a couple other houses in the alley back there that would like to tap their storm runoff into the system, and it would meet up with the storm system that's existing on 9th Street. So it would be running east and west through the alleyway to meet storms running north and south.
You would install that?
The price that I have here is a quoted price from H&J Construction. Probably about a year and a half ago. So I think I put a little extra on there, so I think the original quoted price was like $3,200. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I thought of inflation again. So it could be less, could be more.
If, I'm just thinking, if they're not hooked up to storm, and that's what our SDC things are for, fees and stuff are for, is there potential of
Or capital improvement.
that, or maybe doing a capital improvement plan or something? I just don't know, like, I'm just trying to.
So I can touch on that piece. Councilor Cuthbertson, you're absolutely correct. The reason that I didn't mark that red was because it is a legitimate cost, but it comes out of our reserve funds. There are reserve funds specific for this, and it's a capital outlay, and that would be the appropriate place for it. We don't need to allocate new funding from this coming fiscal year in order to accomplish that appropriation.
Gotcha,
And also, installing this helps us in our TMDL.
absolutely.
And it requires permitting, right? So we have to work with our state partners, and we have to make sure we do it in the proper way. So we'll phase that in. We'll work with DEQ. We make sure we'll do that right. But we do have already the funding available for that little project there.
Review?
Yeah, it's in our reserve funds.
What is the cash fund?
Yeah, because there's 3 of them there.
I don't know why there's.
I think that got duplicated somehow.
Yeah, that's duplicated, so I'm asking for one trash pump. Basically, it's a large gas-fired pump, so if I have a leak and I need to get down to the pipe,
Connection.
I can suck the water out.
I see you
Why
kind of
it's-
share between 3 funds.
It's shared between 3 funds, so is it a total of 4,500 then? And
No,
not
I think,
1,500?
I think the one I looked at was around $1,500. It's one
Okay.
pump, but I think what Don did here is took it out of storm, water, and sewer.
What's the
Okay,
size of
so,
it?
Where are we looking at, you guys? Can you point me out?
Yeah, $1,500 about mid worksheet, for each the.
Trash
Trash pumps.
Right
Oh,
there.
I got it right here.
Yeah.
I got it right here.
2 of them were in the yellow and one's in the white, and it's really only 1,500, then is there even a reason we're discussing it? Doesn't it fit? That's.
It's
it.
already been,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it's already been
it's-
accounted
That's
for
my
in the budget.
understanding.
All right.
It'll
Let me
be
know when
one,
you need to work
yeah, it'll
on
be
it.
one pump,
Okay.
but I think what they did here is put it in 3 separate funds because it'll be utilized for water.
Right,
wastewater,
I just
and
wanted to
sewer.
make sure that it wasn't.
Oh, it says 500
That's
each.
the same.
It does say 500 each
So
on
is
the
it
side.
supposed to be highlighted or not?
It's green.
It's supposed to be green.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Okay.
green.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, the comments identify it, like,
Yeah.
Tom pointed out.
500.
They just were a little conflicting, so I wanted to make sure that we knew what we were doing there. So you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, so there's that one. That'll help me in bidding situations. So if you remember, was it 2021, 2022, I was out of town for my anniversary?
Yeah,
That 6-inch water main burst?
yeah,
And I couldn't get, we have a trash pump, but it's
I
probably
was
the
just getting
90s.
ready to have my golf ball and take it.
I was trying to enjoy my anniversary.
it was a perfect storm.
I should have seen the 1996 one. Couldn't even drive it.
I was here. I was like, more.
You couldn't even drive it from your house, the water was over the road.
Yeah.
Crazy board.
So yeah, that'll be one pump, and then I also put in there another smaller electric trash pump that'll just help with small, like pumping out meter boxes and stuff like that.
Perfect.
Things like, the weed eater, edger, chainsaw, I mean, the edger we had was probably also from the 90s. It broke shortly after I got here. It's still on pallet waiting to be surplus. The weed eater we have, it's a good commercial weed eater, but it's old, so it's probably outlived its useful life. Just had some work done on it. Chainsaw, same thing, decent chainsaw, but it's old.
We've included all those anyways at this point, so.
Yeah.
They're all there, yep.
Yeah, so if there's questions about anything else, I'm happy to answer.
What is it?
CIP, so that's our clean in place. That is when we do an acid wash on the cells in the water plant. The heaters, so basically the water comes in, it heats up to a certain degree, and then we pump in our chemical, and after it reaches that temperature, the chemical is inputted, then we expect it to reach a certain pH before it starts doing its cleaning process. CIP heaters have not worked, I don't think, since I've been. So basically, if the water's at a right temperature and we do a CIP, it's kind of like, hope that water's at the temperature that it needs to.
The CIP isn't just about water temperature, it's also about the caustic chemicals that we're using. And if you don't have that right combination, you are not achieving CIP.
Right, yeah, so, yeah, it's basically the overall cleanliness of the filtration system.
And that's our capital outlay, isn't it, TJ?
It's in there, but we haven't.
It-
So,
We have all of those items that are under 5,000. Those were included in materials and services because they're less than a capital asset.
Their capital asset, and sorry, where they're in the water fund?
Yes, that's right. Can you hear me okay?
It got really low again, I'm not sure why that happened.
Yeah, I don't know why it does that. Sorry about that, you guys. Can you hear me any better at all?
A little bit.
Every time you ask, we can hear you a little better. It's all.
I thought, you know what, I've noticed it goes up. As you're talking, it gets better. But after a break.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It's really, really weird. I'm so sorry, you guys. The items here that you see, these are all included in materials and services because they're under the $5,000 threshold. And the items above 5,000 were covered as capital outlays, and those are the ones that really are the big ticket items, the ones that we had a little bit of challenge including in the budget. But all of these things were indeed included, including the CIP heaters. Even though we didn't have a good price for those, we were able to really kind of summarize those by buffering our contingencies and our expenses elsewhere for things like that.
to get an accurate price on those, I would have to do a whole quoting process, and a big pain. But then TJ and I also had a discussion about some of these things, the CIP heaters, the,
Water meters.
not the water meters, but the new membranes.
Oh,
With
yeah.
all the improvements and stuff that we're looking at going into, those might be included in that new stuff, so we had a discussion about that.
Oh, that's why you went from 50 to 5. Went from 50 requested to $5,000 adjusted.
Yeah, so I can speak to that really briefly. I spoke with Chuck about this, and there's two pieces. One is part of our $1.5 million moves us away from membrane technology. So all we need to purchase is enough membranes to keep us really moving along with this system until it gets replaced. And that's going to be happening in the very near future. So rather than purchase an entire year's worth, we really only wanted to purchase enough to keep us going along with what we have in reserve right now, instead of overspending on that particular category.
And you feel that $5,000 is enough to meet that?
That was Chuck's recommendation.
Okay.
We had a detailed discussion. He said, yes, he felt like that was sufficient. However, if we had to dip into contingency, we absolutely could do that. I did ask him, I did press on that, just as you are, Councilor Felty, and because that's about 10%, right? That's like a month, a little over a month. He said, yeah, he felt that was pretty good.
Well, anything else on this page people want to hit on?
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and keep the meeting rolling, TJ.
All right. So, looking at the next steps, one of the things that staff identified was actual expenditures differed from the original biennial budget estimates. And we already knew this, we've talked about this. Several appropriations are projected to exceed the original budget amount in certain lines, not within the fund, but within certain lines of that fund. And at the same time, certain lines of the fund and appropriations remain available and unused and sometimes significant surplus. And so we have no additional resources that are required. All of the funds had all of the money necessary to cover the entire budget. So we're not projecting any significant changes to the beginning fund balance for this budget. And there are no interfund transfers necessary. So we did some cleaning up and some reconciling, and committee or council will deal with that at the city council meeting. But all in all, we will present a budget reconciliation transfer resolution to council, which summarizes a handful of transfers that get us where we need to be and get this biennium wrapped up. But the punchline is that there were no significant impacts to the upcoming budget and the beginning balances, as we mentioned. Remaining actions for committee. So it's to consider recommendation of this 26-27 fiscal year budget. And then after that, City Council will review the reconciliation resolution that we've just discussed. There is a water reserve fund resolution. We'll talk about that tomorrow during our work session. There's the budget hearing, of course, and the budget adoption. So we are inching our way, actually making pretty good progress towards getting a balanced and reasonable and appropriate budget completed for this year.
I have one quick question, if you don't mind jumping in. Public Works Fund, LB 20 shows 150,498 for total resources. But LB 30 shows 150,497 for total requirements.
That's a rounding thing.
I know.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, are we gonna have an issue?
No, the LB1 actually, everything on the LB1 lines up. I'm not sure why it lines up on the LB1, but it's not lining up there. But everything on the LB1, which is the page 3,
Yeah.
everything there is a 6131901.
Okay.
So all those line up. And we can check into that though, just to see if we can get that to reflect that within that fund as well.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was a typo or rounding, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's only $1, but.
The
still.
calculate, yeah, it's the way it's calculating within that.
Yeah, I think it's taking like 50 cents plus and rounding up. I have not been able to dig it out either, but Counselor Myers, that is something we can definitely circle back and hit, hopefully before the end of the budget. But that dollar does bother me a little bit too.
Page 20. Page 18 and page 20, if you look at the total.
Total resources and total requirements.
Yeah. It's only $1, but like you said, you have an auditor looking at it. Well, depends on who's auditor is, I guess.
Yeah, what they're concentrating on, but yeah, it's something they could. I did highlight all the ones that are tying directly to the working sheet, as promised. And I also did check all those calculations. A few of them were a little bit off, actually, from the line it should be referencing, so it was a good exercise. LGIP interest was tied in, so that adjusted the net amount a little bit, but we took me with 100-year, not a whole lot. I mean, it was, for the most part, a gain in most of the funds, so we just distributed the monies. Trying to get any other major, so in 601, we did include the Longtown Watershed Council pass-through funds that we're expecting this coming year from that original 50,000. So we're capturing that. And then in Fund 403, which is our water reserve fund, we're accounting for that operations and maintenance for the dam removal. The 35,000 we still anticipate getting out of 50. So that's in there.
Yeah, thank you for that, Don. So a couple of things. We just appropriately moved several of these items to where they were supposed to live. This is part of what council will also be looking at. There are some transfers and resolutions that we'll complete before the end of the budget cycle to finalize that. I really appreciate, Don, you hitting on both of those things, the 403 and the 601. Any questions on that, y'all?
Yeah, so the 403 is supposed to have total resources of 169,781, but total requirements of 2,004,781.
Why are we showing
That's what it shows on my
the balances?
which
That is weird.
Where are we looking here, Don?
You guys need me home?
Yep, we'll do. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your time. Absolutely. If you guys have any more questions, just Don, get them in.
Is it?
2 o'clock in the morning.
You know what, we added the water intake and maintenance line in there.
Yeah.
Did it not, because we just added this like.
Yeah, no, Don, that's exactly what happened. So unfortunately, it didn't capture this line right here.
So it didn't capture the revenue piece,
Yep.
that 35 that we added in?
So it is, yeah. So it's correct. It's correct in the budget, but not correct on this line.
So it is
We had-
204,81, yeah, it didn't calculate
Yeah,
that
I was gonna
35
say.
requirement.
So the big piece to note, though, is that we've moved the water intake operations and maintenance funding to its own spot, specifically here within Fund 403, rather than having it within Fund 409, which was a non-existent fund. You all might remember there was a resolution. We'll look at this during council in 2023. And the resolution created Fund 409. However, that fund never actually got created after that. It just, the idea of it stopped at the resolution. And it was intended just for the water intake. The most appropriate place for that, though, would be in the Water Reserve Fund, where we fund all of the capital improvements in reserve. So that's why we've moved it over to here. And that was something that we've done today since last week, one of the big changes, so that we would more appropriately be able to flag this for our auditors moving forward.
So that's the discrepancy. It just didn't show up on 403, but that's gonna make up the difference.
So I know, TJ, you guys are discussing this tomorrow. I don't know how much of the conversation you're wanting to get into tonight. But Councilor Williams is essentially asking if that makes up, right? If it makes up for what we should have
Yes.
done before.
Yes, that 35,000 is why the 169 does not show 204.
Got it.
And so it was appropriately calculated in the numbers, but just not on this sheet. And that needs to be reflected. So what committee can do is direct staff to make that revision along with your motion this evening, should you move forward to that stage.
So I total all the lines, 2 through 6, and I come up with 169.71. So where are you talking about 35,000 missing? But it has line 6, 35,000. And the bottom, the requirement says 204,781 is what I get also.
But if you add that 35,000 to it,
Yeah,
35,000.
exactly.
it's just, you're saying it's not showing up on Fund 403 right now.
Which one though?
Resources.
I know, but the 35,000 for the water intake O&M is listed as line 6 already.
No, I'm saying that it didn't calculate it within the total because we added the line.
No, I
and it
calculated
in
them
the
all with my
calculation. You
calculator.
did a manual calculation?
Yep.
So
TJ,
these all right. So look all these right here. I mean, 134.
There's 134 on its own.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Which,
So
it's 2004, something weird, well, because
hold on, let me just go over to the actual.
you take line 2, 3, and 4, and that makes the 134,781, and you add 35, and that makes you 169,781. See,
TJ pulled up the
line
actual
5
spreadsheet.
is total resources,
Yep, you're right.
which is the first 3 lines total.
Yep.
And unless I'm reading it wrong,
So
guys.
something's calculating funky either down below or reserve for future.
Because otherwise it'd be off by a lot more.
Hold on.
Because otherwise you'd be up in the 260,000, 270.
That's what you're saying now? Yeah. So we're probably gonna have to reduce the amount reserved for future expenditures is where that's gonna have to take place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I hate to be a hard no, but
No, that's what we need. We need extra eyes on this.
maybe that's what we're here for.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I'll make a quick adjustment here, and I'll be able to show you the actual
Okay, you can make the adjustment.
as it'll show. Yep, with the adjustment. Give me 1 second.
So that reserve for future will be reduced, most likely is what's gonna happen.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here real quick. And this is in real time, so Don, this is already updated on our.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I had noted it, but
Here's the design zoning.
Yeah, so what we had right here was just a miscalculation on both ends.
Oh.
I did make an adjustment to the reserve for future expenditures in order to balance it out. But
When you go to the top, I don't mean to interrupt, but when you go to the top, the total resources, except taxes to be levied, is the total of all those 3 above it. And that 35,000 is down below it, that's why it didn't take it into that calculation. So really, line 6 should be on line 5 and then calculated in the total, except taxes to be levied.
just make sure I've got that right. Hold on 1 second. Yep, that's correct.
And so that 35 should be part of that calculation.
Yep, sure is.
Okay, good.
And then, so I think what we're seeing is we just allocated too much to, that's what happened, Don, never mind.
Okay.
What we did not do is we did not reduce future expenditures when we included the water intake O&M. I think that's what's happening. That's what's happening, because if we do this right here, there we are. So what happened is we made an adjustment today and we moved the $35,000 over to here as a requirement. And when we did that, that reduced the amount that we have available for future expenditures. We just didn't catch that difference. So we've just corrected that in real time. So the actual amount here is the 169,781 with that revision, with that subtraction made to account for the 35,000.
And where do you subtract it on the requirement side?
Yeah, the reserve for future.
Okay.
That went down to 59,781.
Yep. So what I did is, you can see my calculation here. It was an original calculated formula before we brought in those 35,000. So what I've done is I've reduced that by 35,000 to account for the water intake, and that's how we arrive at the reduction in future expenditures and a balance between the reserves and, or excuse me, the resources and requirements.
Thank you.
Thank you for catching.
Thank you for catching that, you guys. Thank you. We get tunnel vision after looking at, hundreds and thousands of cells, so we do appreciate it.
What fun they will put it in. We're like, oh, you got it.
Oh, I got one that's got 463,000.
Right.
Yeah. It's 52 columns correct.
Yeah, and the other major fund that was affected with today's work was 601. Both the requirements and the resources. That's where we put the Long-Tom Watershed Council pass-through funds. So.
And the reason for that is that these funds, these grant dollars, are for green stormwater infrastructure, which is a really cool way of saying that we protect the ground, the drinking water. And it's an operations and maintenance function, so it belongs in the operations and maintenance accounting for our water fund.
Looks good there.
Yeah, that looks like it. Do we double check those real quick, TJ, to make sure that those got captured, those extra lines?
Which extra lines?
Did we add that, was the U24004 line already there and we just put information in it, was already part of the calculation?
No,
right?
those got added today. We're pointing those out to you so you're aware. Those got added so that they're both on the resources, LB20, as well as on the requirements, the LB30. So they balance between the two, but they're supposed to be parked here. Previously, they didn't really have a place to live. And the auditor caught this during the mid-budget audit. And this is really the best decision in collaboration with them in order to bring those funds into a place where they really should defensibly live.
And it's line 19 on the requirements, and resources, and 52 on the requirements. Yeah. Looks good so far. And you guys weren't ever able to find a non-editable Excel output, right?
TJ, Councilor Myers
So-
asked
No, the big challenge is, like I said, this is multiple workbooks
Yeah,
combined into one. So we have to go in and make edits across multiple places to try to give you a version that didn't have all of the additional tabs at the bottom that shouldn't be included would be virtually impossible. And then also to be able to port in the numbers that we're pulling from our own OneDrive. I don't know how to do it without breaking all the formulas and
you
references.
have lookup formulas and stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Cause like Mark's worksheet, for example, things like that we're tying in, it's, yeah, a lot of different exterior.
Any other stuff popping out on these things?
Nope, other than the LGIP interest that was tied directly to the worksheet, which was a little bit higher in some areas. But it got worked in, because now it's directly tied to that worksheet. All the other worksheet items are highlighted, so you can very easily go back and check that specific worksheet and that line item if you need to, and want to make sure that it matches what that worksheet says for that fund. You can do that.
So as we discussed last time, and as Don just mentioned, there's the LGIP interest disbursement and where it goes to. And these are all referenced, of course, within the functions in the spreadsheet. We already talked about engineering a good bit. And then all of the other items too, which you had already seen previously. I think the big difference, the big changes, you wanted to be able to see the LGIP interest distribution in particular.
So what are next steps if we don't have any further questions?
Well, hold on 1 second. I'll go ahead and share. Yes. So really the next step is to recommend the budget to council for finalization. So there's more to be done, but the budget committee's work is really to hear the budget message, hear the thinking behind the why we're doing what we're doing, and then recommend it to council to take over. The budget committee, staff recommends that the budget committee approve the fiscal year 2026-27 budget and recommend its adoption by the Monroe City Council with the caveat that we, of course, we did it in real time on the spreadsheet, but with the caveat that on the record, we make that revision to Fund 403 just in the calculation with the 35,000.
At this point, it would be on council if they choose to move forward with any of the other wish list items from Mark, correct? The budget committee doesn't need to do anything with that?
That is correct. The budget committee is done at this point. If you wanted to recommend that any of those, because this is all a recommendation, all of it. If you wanted to recommend that some of those items be included, that's something that the council would receive as its first starting point in that recommendation and budget reconciliation process. You could also leave it up to council to decide if they want to pick it up or not.
I'd like to make a formal recommendation that we look at the camera system for the water. And then the toolbox. I think having the right tools to do the job is very important for our staff, and that will have a return on investment that speaks volumes.
And you're talking about the whole budget too, adding those two?
Yeah.
I second that.
Awesome. Does this committee vote on that kind of stuff?
Yes, that is exactly what you do.
Great. Well, if there's no further discussion, then let's vote on it, I suppose.
Hold on, if it's okay, folks. So I provided, we do kind of have to say some specific verbiage. And you can tack on those pieces at the end of it. But what we would need is the person to propose a motion that includes these, essentially this text, because we're approving the tax rates as well as the levy rate, and then recommending all of that to the council as a formal process.
I don't even understand what I'm supposed to do.
So we basically have to say that city council piece right here, I move that, blah, 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 yeah.
But before,
And then you add your thing.
and then add your thing,
Okay.
and then before you do that, not to make it more complicated, but do we want to, we had talked about having them try to figure out like the cameras, like if we could do them in phases.
Yeah,
Is that something that we need to specify as well when we talk about the cameras? I don't know.
I think it warrants having it be documented so that when it goes to city council,
Yeah.
I remember.
Perfect. I didn't want, I'm sorry, to make it more complicated, but yeah.
I'm talking specifically the water.
The water.
Correct.
At this
Right,
point,
right.
So basically, something has to, is there anything in the quote marks and then add on anything additional, correct, TJ?
Right,
Yes,
so
correct.
All right, I move that the budget committee approve the fiscal year 2026 through 2027 budget and the property tax amount and rate for fiscal year 2026 through 2027, as presented and recommended its adoption by the Monroe City Council. Adding the water treatment camera and the toolbox for public works.
And I second that.
Any further discussion? All right, well, let's vote. Starting with Harry. Counselor,
Yes. Counselor Myers, yes.
Counselor Cuthbertson, yes.
Brad Cuthbertson, yes.
Counselor Evans, yes.
Councilor Williams, yes.
Counselor Ray, yes. Cody Baker, yes.
and Counselor Pelty also yes. All right. Well,
Thank you, committee.
Awesome.
That concludes our process. We will be in touch in the middle of the week to update you on the remainder of the budget calendar. Those of you, most of you, who will be involved in the next steps of the process.
awesome. Gavel.
Harry is holding it in his hand, can't wait to get that thing done.
Thank you, TJ, good night, and I hope you feel
All
better.
right, perfect. See
Right.
everybody tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.